Thanks for joining again today. We have a special guest back from the Philadelphia area, Ryan Rothstein from WIP. Used to be at ESPN. Tell the folks about yourself, Ryan.
Yeah, Matt, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can just follow me on Twitter at WiseRye, WISERYE. On-air host for 94 WIP, like you said, also on air for VSiN, Vegas Sports and Information Network, where I host the Philadelphia CityCast, presented by Bet Rivers Sportsbook, putting out shows and content 5 days a week, and you can find all of it on my Twitter page. So there you go.
Awesome. So a lot of the talk this week back in Philly has been about Gardner Minshew getting the start before the bye week. He played well. It was accurate. I think everybody expected that. He's really he gets the ball out on time on the short and intermediate routes. So I'm gathering that you're liking the idea of the Eagles kind of trying to roll the dice. You got 4 games to try to get into the playoffs. Am I accurately stating your position on this? Or what?
When you say roll the dice, elaborate a little bit.
Well, this. You've got one start from Garner, and you've got a body of work, a larger body of work. You have more of an understanding of what you have when you throw Jalen Hurts out there. That's yes. All I'm saying there.
Okay. Are you asking like who should start? Who do I think should start moving forward? Yeah, I mean it's Jalen. It's Jalen Hurts. Yeah, okay. I mean, listen, my Twitter page I think can be misleading. One, if you don't know and understand my sarcasm, and two, maybe if you're not like listening to my shows on WIP, which a lot of people aren't. I understand that. But this is a loaded question because I want Jalen to start, but not because I believe in him to be the guy for the future, right? Like I want and expect him to start because, the verdict is still out and you need to see more game film on him. And now it's just convenient that the NFC is so bad in a sense, and they added the extra seed for the postseason now that the Eagles have a chance. So fine, they're not a playoff team, but they could end up in the postseason. But it's good. It's good for this team with a new coaching staff, new head coach, young quarterback who's trying to figure out if he can win this starting job as, quote, the franchise guy. So that's why I want and expect Jalen Hurts to start. But now if you ask me, should they keep him moving forward as a starting quarterback? What should they do this offseason?
I haven't question.
Yeah. I haven't seen enough from him, Matt. I haven't seen enough from him as a passer. I like him. I find myself rooting for him. He's a great guy. He's a natural leader. Teams gravitated towards him and bought in as him being the leader. But his arm has concerned me, just more so from the pocket and just the consistency aspects. It just hasn't been there.
Absolutely. I'll just throw this out there since I've asked the last few guests. Jalen Reagor is a big source of conversation. He's turned into the new Nelson Aguilar in my estimation.
Regular.
That's good. So do you see? My idea is that we need Jalen Reagor and Kenny Gainwell have similar skill set. At least at this point in Kenny Gainwell's career, not in terms of running between the tackles. I think that it would be a good idea to just switch those snaps over, because I really don't want to see. I don't like seeing Jalen Reagor on the field pretty much at all. Do you think that would be a good idea, or what?
I don't know. I mean, listen, Gainwell is dynamic. Like you can certainly, motion him from the backfield out to the slot. You can use him creatively. That's what it seems like, at least, right? Like when I say that, when we mention that, we haven't seen it. Like we haven't seen enough of it. We've seen flashes of his potential and how quick and dynamic he is, but I don't think you can throw a rookie running back in place of Jalen Reagor. This is the unfortunate reality right now as it relates to Jalen Reagor. The depth chart just isn't any good. So we can scream and yell for Jalen Reagor to get benched, but what are we doing? I mean, you brought up that idea. I just I don't think that's realistic. That one, maybe you can find ways to get Jalen Reagor less snaps. But the wide receiver position on the depth chart is brutal. Like they are forced to play him right now in too big of a role that he can handle.
And I think the way Sirianni likes to scheme it up, you can't put. I hear a lot of folks talk about Greg Ward, but they're completely different kinds of players. The way that they're trying to run this offense, they need Rager to create that spacing. He does do that. He does create spacing.
Uh,
But
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, listen, he's just been bad. He's been bad. Jalen Reagor, like he was built as this speed guy who you can use as like a Tyreek Hill, D-Jax type of player,
no,
like just similar. Not even close, man. Like I'm not watching games and saying like, well, man, look at his speed or look at. I mean, he's not doing anything, and it has to be mental now a little bit too as well at this point, but
absolutely.
it's a mess. Hopefully, the Eagles can figure out a way to trade him after this season because he's still under contract for a couple more years.
Yeah, this is year 2, so he's got 2
Yep.
more years on his rookie deal. What concerns me the most is not really the drops; it's the effort, play to play. And in the offseason, you had the news about Sirianni berating him or yelling at him or getting him in line during practice.
Yep.
I think that they've tried. I think that you're right. I think it ends up ending with him not being here anymore. So
It's time. It's time.
absolutely. So when folks call in, you do WIP. What are the streets saying about Garner Minshew this week?
I mean, honestly, it's not as big of a controversy as you're reading. Like when you go online, and different articles are written, and even just, of course, what's being said on Eagles Twitter. There's a lot of fans that are still completely in Jalen Hurts' corner and still want to see him be the starting quarterback, not just when they come back from the bye, but moving forward. Um, which is a little bit interesting to me. I don't think there's still maybe 10-20% that are saying Gardner Minshew, what we saw was different from what we've seen with Jalen Hurts, but it's not like a 50-50 split from the calls I'm getting. And I'm a little bit more against Jalen, I guess, as it comes to believing in him for his future. And I get a lot of calls disagreeing with me. So it's interesting to see that.
I was watching the Steelers game on Thursday night. Around the third quarter, I was just like, okay, well, I'm going to start getting ready for bed, but I'm going to keep it on in the background. I kind of dozed off, but I mindfully dozed off, and then I woke up, and the Steelers were in the game. It's just amazing. I thought the Vikings were over or were finished with, but apparently now they are above the Eagles in ranking because of similar games played. What are your thoughts on the Vikings?
I mean, they stink. They stink. But not the problem, but I guess it's a good thing as it relates to the Eagles. They all sort of stink right now. Like it's just and I joke a little bit when I say they stink, but I don't believe in the Vikings. Like that loss to Detroit was horrific.
Yes.
And to even let Pittsburgh back in that game is horrific.
Mhm.
Pittsburgh should have been set up with an opportunity to go for 2 to tie that game. That was just sort of a drop ball. Unfortunate for their side of things at the end of that Thursday night game. But I don't know how this thing's going to shape up, right? Like the one thing that we love about sports, right? Like all of us can assess and analyze this thing, the final, four game stretch for the Eagles, and we can say, well, this is going to be a win. This is going to be a win. This might be a loss. Forget it. Like one thing that we know for sure is we don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's something crazy is going to happen. We've seen it. We've seen it time and time again, especially here in Philly as Eagles fans. So it's just a bunch of average teams right now trying to sneak in as the 7th seed for the wild card spot. And I think it's going to be fun. The Eagles have all NFC East opponents to finish out the year. Let's play ball. It's going to be interesting.
Absolutely. Should Washington or the Eagles sweep each other, you pretty much sew yourself up a spot.
Yeah.
Probably got to win one more game, but that pretty much does it. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think either team has it in them to sweep the other?
It's really hard. It's really hard. I mean, I talked about this before the Eagles lost to the Giants. And people said, well, look at the schedule the last 6 weeks, man, the last 6 games, all very winnable. Eh, NFC East games here, forget about the records. Any season, it is really tough to take two from the Giants, take two from Washington, take two from Dallas. It's just you're not lucky if you split, but man, you're sitting pretty if you go 4-2 in your 6 division games.
Yeah,
So now Washington's playing well. It's late in the year for both of these teams, and you have to play them, bunched together here. Now you have to play them twice in 4 weeks. It's going to be tough for either team, I think, to get 2 wins. It's certainly doable, but I wouldn't predict 2 wins for one side
I
either
agree.
way. Yeah,
I totally agree. I think the Eagles, they end up 3-3 in the division. They probably get one of these with Washington. Whether it's like basically a baseball series. They play each other twice
yeah,
in 3 weeks.
yep.
It's ridiculous. So I think it's the toss up is the Cowboys game. I think that the Eagles are going to get this second one against the Giants. It's probably
Me
good
too.
that they got it out of the way.
Yep.
The clunker against the Giants, and then they're going to beat Washington one of the times.
Yeah, I agree. I was just trying to look at the standings and the schedule here real quick in the NFC, but nonetheless, I'm not. Nothing is a guarantee, like I just ranted about. But the Eagles are going to get that win against New York, and that Dallas matchup to end the year is going to be interesting. People are throwing out the possibility. Well, Dallas could be resting their guys. I don't see that being the case. I think Dallas is going to be playing their starters for a lot of different possibilities and reasons. And let's see if the Eagles at home, that could be a win in your in type of game against the Cowboys, baby.
those are the best.
Yes,
Somehow those always shake out towards the end of the season, and it
always.
doesn't it doesn't even when if you watch that week 3 game against Dallas, those two teams didn't even belong on the field together. The Eagles didn't
No.
belong that day, but this is how it always goes. The Cowboys kind of get out to a big jump, and the Eagles battle back. Tomorrow, though, Washington plays the Cowboys. How does that work for you when you're watching that, especially with our current standings? Who are you gonna be rooting for? What are you gonna be doing?
I mean, this is horrific. This is brutal. Well, I mean, listen, like people are saying, well, I can't root for the Cowboys. Yeah, no kidding. We need the Cowboys to win for Eagles playoff chances to go up. Doesn't mean I'm going to be rocking a Cowboys jersey tomorrow,
No.
like standing up and cheering when they get first downs. Um, I'm just going to be sort of rooting against Washington and hoping the Cowboys get the win. But I'm not going to be able to define it as rooting for Dallas. We can't do that here. We can't do it.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. I mean, if there was a possibility for them both to lose, that'd be great. And honestly, one wins or the other wins, there are upsides to both of it. See, Washington wins, then maybe they're a little high on themselves this week because you had the
Maybe.
ridiculous Mike McCarthy basically guaranteeing a win. So maybe Washington feels like they slayed the Giant in Dallas, and then they come to Philly next week.
It's true. It's true that it would make it a little bit more tough to win against Dallas and then win in Philly. Yeah.
So either way, I'm just gonna be watching, and I don't know. A tie probably doesn't help us.
Yeah, a tie would just make things that much more confusing.
Absolutely. So yeah. Thank you for coming on, Ryan. If there's anything else you wanted to talk about that the streets are talking about in Philly, you're free to. But I really appreciate you coming on.
Nah, man, that's following your lead. I appreciate you having me. I had fun. Anytime you want me to jump back on with you, I'm happy to do so.
All right. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Take care.